Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real honour for me to be able to speak to you about how we are together conquering new frontiers in the oil and gas business. Together, we're bringing energy to the world in the transportation of our products, but also in the complex offshore environment. We're pushing the boundaries to meet the world's increasing energy needs. Energy investments are increasing. Challenges are increasing, but also innovation. But in all this, we also have to increase the assurance we provide to the world that we will be able to operate responsibly. Shell has been in the shipping business for a very long time. Some 120 years ago, the merchant vessel Murex went through the Suez Canal, the first vessel to transport oil products through the Suez Canal. In 1964, the Methane Princess was the first LNG tanker that brought LNG to the United Kingdom. Today, Shell conducts 100,000 cargo transfers every year. We operate 44 LNG carriers, the largest fleet in the world. And over time, new shipping technologies have had a profound impact on the oil and gas business. That relationship has evolved over the last 100 years. And maritime expertise is increasingly used to unlock energy supplies. From the transport of products to now an integrated member of our value chain. Still, transporting oil, LPG, chemicals, LNG is an important part of our business. But also developing offshore resources with seismic spreads and drilling rigs and support vessels and diving support vessels and tugs and lift barges and pipe-lay barges. All an essential path to developing new resources. And now beyond that, integrating the shipping industry to the oil and gas industry on floating production, storage and offloading systems, and floating storage and regasification units, and now floating LNG units. The integration between our businesses is increasing all the time. Today, on a typical day, Shell will operate some 1,500 vessels across the world. Ships, barges, on the oceans, on the riverways, on the lakes. We have to make sure we do that safely. We have to make sure we protect the environment. We have to make sure we do that with security in dangerous areas. And we're proud that our shipping fleet has some 99.6% reliability. But in the last 60 years, we've moved into the offshore business. Since 60 years ago in the Gulf of Mexico, we had our first wells drilled. Then in the 1970s and 80s, we took on the harsh challenges of the North Sea. Indeed, here in Norway, some of the most remarkable projects were executed. The Troll project, installed in 1996, some 472 meters from top to bottom in 300 meters of water, weighing 660,000 tons, the tallest, heaviest thing that's been transported by mankind. A project that we've done with Shell and our partners such as Statoil, who operate the facility now. And we've moved into the Gulf of Mexico, offshore Brazil, offshore Nigeria, offshore Borneo, offshore Australia and New Zealand, and then more recently in the subarctic regions, offshore Sakhalin Island. Ever more deep, ever more remote locations, requiring more and more integration between our businesses. But I wanted to address today's frontiers. And first, the physical frontiers. The IE estimates there are 2.7 trillion barrels of oil still to be reduced. But some 45% of that will be from the offshore. and 25% will be at deeper depths than 400 metres. Here in Norway, the Ormen Lange project, developed by Norsk Hydro in 1,100 metres of water, operated by Shell, operated in sub-zero temperatures, today provides 20% of the UK's gas. And with our partners, we're working on schemes to consider installing subsea compression for this project, and we're looking at other options as well. But this is a remarkable project, the deepest project in Europe. And then in floating production, storage and offloading systems, started in the 1970s, and this year we launched the Stones project. Stones project will operate in 2,900 metres of water. That project will have a detachable turret that will allow us to take the vessel once the storms, the hurricanes that blight the Gulf of Mexico come near, that the vessel can go to safe harbour. In the last weeks, the Gumusut project offshore Borneo in Malaysia has been transported to Sabah. The Blue Marlin there is giving the Gumusut a piggyback, a 40,000-tonne piggyback. But without the marine industry, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And at the top, you see the Globetrotter 2, a rig I was on a few weeks ago, looking more like a ship than a drilling rig, purpose-built with Noble. This ship will be able to drill in 3,000 metres of water with 3.5 knot currents, with 52-foot waves and 100-knot winds. And I'm not sure altogether, but indeed pushing the boundaries of a marine environment. And it's off to the West Africa to drill in Benin for us. That ship is built more lightweight, more fuel efficient, more flexible than previous drilling rigs, innovating between the drilling business and the shipping business and helping unlock new resources. But I wouldn't be able to stand here today and talk about physical frontiers without talking about the Arctic. The IEA estimates 14% of the undiscovered oil and 25% of the undiscovered gas resides in the Arctic region. But operating off Alaska, in particular, is not new to us. There's been a long and successful business through the 80s and 90s. Some 100 wells have been drilled in the Arctic region off the coasts of USA and Canada, and some 30 wells in the Beaufort and Chukchi Sea. And indeed, in Cook Inlet, we have platforms that Shell has installed and still operate today. But we do acknowledge the challenges of working in this region. But we are committed to responsibly unlock the resources. But we must do this in a measured and responsible way. The Kuluk maritime incident was one in 2012 that we're now learning our lessons from. But I think that should not take away from the achievements of our activities that were conducted in Alaska. We put together a logistics fleet of unprecedented size, some 20 vessels, 2 drilling rigs, dual ram, shear ram, blow-up preventers, capping stacks, Arctic containment systems, 4 levels of defence to protect the environment in the case there was a drilling hazard. We drilled 2 top holes, and I can report the drilling activities went very responsibly. We haven't yet made a decision whether we're going to return to drilling in 2014. We have declared a pause in 2013 to learn the lessons from that campaign, but also to ready our drilling fleet. But essentially, we need to work more and more closely with the maritime business to make sure that all operations, all the time, are flawless. But as we move into the more challenging and remote locations of the world, we have to assure the world that we can protect the sensitive marine environments, particularly after Macondo. And in Norway, I'm delighted to report that the Subsea Well Response Project has had its first milestone this year. And working with our partners, with Statoil, Shell, and 7 other partners, we have developed the first capping stacks and dispersion kits that can be used in the deep water. And this year, there will be 4 completed for deployment in Singapore, South Africa, Brazil, and Norway to be able to be brought in the case of a spill in the deep water, using OSRL as our agents to deploy the devices. But what is clear is that as we push the physical marine boundaries, that we will have to work closely with the maritime industry, but also to assure the world that we have the protection for those environments. But the second frontier I want to address is the innovation frontiers. How are we working with the maritime business to unlock new opportunities? And I want to focus on liquefied natural gas, something that we've been involved in now for 50 years. The Minister kindly referred to our floating LNG scheme. The Prelude project is being built today. We've cut the first steel in September in Samsung in Korea. It's some 490 meters long. Ironically, it's as long as Troll was high. When fully laden, it will weigh 600,000 tons. Ironically, almost the same weight as the Troll platform. But this device will be able to liquefy gas in remote locations, and particularly the Prelude field. It will be able to withstand Category 5 storms. And this device, our plan is to design one and to build many, and to be able to redeploy the device once the field is depleted. And we have plans for more, particularly off the coast of Australia with Browse, but also in Indonesia with Abadi. This is a bit of innovation that I think Shell can be very proud and I think will unlock a number of additional gas resources. But the world has 250 years of gas supply at today's consumption rates. And indeed, how we use gas in all parts of the energy system is somewhere for innovation. And we've been pushing very hard in LNG and transport. In Canada, in the Green Corridor for trucks, where we have mini modular LNG schemes able to deliver LNG to those vehicles we're building today. And this year we announced in the Great Lakes and in the Gulf of Mexico we were going to install further mini modular LNG schemes, particularly providing LNG to the ships and the barges that work in those areas. But here in Norway, we bought the Gas Nord company quite recently that is delivering LNG to some over 30 vessels. And those vessels are actually involved in providing services to our offshore industry. And this year also we launched the Green Stream barge that is going to ply the waterways of the Rhine. It's going to be fueled by LNG. But why is LNG taking such a position in the shipping industry? Well, it's to do with emissions and our ability to replicate what the very clean liquid fuels are able to replicate, but do so at a more cost-effective way and tapping into the abundant resources of gas and LNG that are emerging across the world. So to summarize, we're pushing the physical and innovation frontiers together. We're seeing more integration, we're seeing more innovation, but we're seeing an increasing focus on our assurance to protect marine environments. Shell has a long history in shipping of 120 years, formed by Shell Transport Trading, essentially a shipping and trading company. Royal Dutch were an oil and gas company. We had a loose merger in 1907. That was then fully brought together in 2005. So in the introduction we heard about the marriage and the arranged marriage between these two industries. And indeed Royal Dutch Shell is essentially a merger between the shipping industry and the oil and gas business. And we see this more and more, from transportation to the offshore business and now to integrated floating production storage systems, floating LNG. I think our business will be able to unlock more energy resources through integration and through working together. Thank you very much.